going to introduce is Tariq Mahmood. He has been involved in writing books and films and campaigning for as long as I've been in Manchester and known him, and I'm sure he started before then. Tariq, nice to meet you.
Yeah, just to thank you very much. I think it's quite an amazing time. Perhaps we've never been here in the last 500 years to see this huge global network, perhaps we can term it as the Anglo-Saxon Empire, tottering on the verge of collapse, and in its tottering creating havoc across the world. Really, I was listening to Ray and I was thinking, I don't think the multinationals are laughing all the way from the banks at the moment. More than likely they're crying all the way back from the banks, because the crisis, whether it's the political, the financial or the military, with each one of us are intimately a part of it. I arrived from Pakistan 2 months ago and I bought with great difficulty a sack of flour for that particular time, flour being the basic base of food. And it took me half a day wandering in a city quite close to our village with a bundle of notes in my pocket in order to get the flour. There's a bit of a shortage at the time. Just because you have money does not mean that people are going to be able to eat. There is a fundamental crisis going on all across. Now the linkages between Pakistan and what's going on at the moment, both in terms of Britain and in this global setup, are very tangible, they're not imaginary. There are 1 million of us in this country, the overwhelming majority of whom, for those who may not know, are actually from Kashmir. Kashmir is in turmoil, it is divided, it is bleeding and people are dying. It's highly repressed by military, perhaps the most militarized zone on this earth, with approximately 1 million soldiers facing each other in an area which isn't that vast. In terms of the turmoil in Pakistan, I was sitting down thinking, where shall I start? And I thought, let me get the first page of the newspaper, which is Dawn, an English language newspaper, and I'll simply read you the headlines of today. Just like the rest of the world, the big banner in the middle is special issue, who will rule the White House, because actually we have to keep a tight eye on the master. The next line between is suicide bomber arrested outside Frontier Corps Centre. The Frontier Constabulary, are the ones engaged in the military operations to a large extent, along with the Standard Army in what is the tribal areas in the northwest frontier. The next headline is US double blow kills 21 in Waziristan. Actually, other newspapers says 32. That's a reference to 2 missiles fired by the United States, supposedly an ally of Pakistan, into the territory of Pakistan, killing, they claim, 1 Taliban leader, and 32 people are killed. The Pakistani government, as the Queaslings, are proud of the fact that they've at least stopped the American military physically coming in. They are powerless to stop their master attacking them left, right and centre. The next line is official rationalizes raids on Badlands. What that means in normal language is an American saying, we will continue to attack the areas of North Waziristan and the agency of Bajour. Just out of interest, these areas, sorry, I'll be changing my glasses because I can't see you when I take those off. When I put these on, I can see you, but I can't see this. When I put these on, I can't see you, I can just about see this. These areas, you must have heard of Bajour and the tribal areas. Alexander the Marauder, 300 years BC, almost lost his life trying to cross through into what is today Pakistan, through this area. He was faced with a life and death battle in every valley, in every hillock, in every mountain, along the route. He succeeded in going through. And before I leave a bundle here, some notes by Engels on the 1800s of the Russians and the British English expeditions, as they were called at the time. There's very little difference. You'll be quite amazed. In fact, you will laugh when you read some of them, how their orders are contradictory, how they don't know whether they're going to win. They have 20,000 troops and they say, well, actually, in order to pacify Afghanistan, we need to occupy Punjab. It's not that dissimilar to what is going on today. I'll carry on with some of the other headlines and then I'll explain why. And then, Foreign Office admits ties with you as strained. My God, they're attacking the place by air. They are transporting 80% of NATO supplies over land through Pakistan. They have military personnel training the Pakistani army, for God's sake, an army of 500,000 men that has ruled the country effectively since 1940s, 1950s. They have nuclear weapons, they have advanced technology which they develop, they have their own long-range, now they have ballistic missiles, and they need Americans to train them to fight their own people. It's an absurdity and a ridiculous situation. Clearly, that is not the case. What we have is a mercenary army that is set out and has ruling 160 million people. It's not like the army that you imagine of Britain. It's an army that produces cornflakes, cement, water, credit cards, runs roads, builds bridges, has a vast amount of real estate. Every colonel, general above is a multi-millionaire. The generals of Britain couldn't dream of the wealth that these people have. These are a group of people whose parents are trained in Sandhurst. They used to be trained in Sandhurst. They went off to America. These people run banks, railway lines, universities, every single thing that you can imagine in a civil society. Successive military regimes backed by the hilt by Britain and America, without whom they could not do one day, have systematically destroyed the very infrastructure of a society that Pakistani was trying to develop. The Foreign Office being upset with their masters, 30,000 children rendered homeless by earthquakes. The homelessness is not natural. A country, I differ with Mansoor, Pakistan is awash with wealth. It is awash with wealth and drowning in poverty. 30,000 children being homeless in the last couple of days is because the state is engaged in internal wars, internal repression. There is really not a shortage of anything. 4 years ago, they were going to export electricity to India, for those who have been following, because they had a surplus. Now, we can't even run the wheat grounding mills to supply flour. And when they do run, incidentally, very often they are re-grinding the stale roti from the time before and repackaging it off as flour under the current setup. The next headline, suicide bomber hits Mardan, the DIG office. Mardan is a major city in the northwest frontier. 19 security men amongst 21 freed by militant. And then Pakistan can raise 5 billion in 30 days. The begging bowl is out by a nuclear-powered country which can build now 1,000 Humvees for the Americans. That's the latest deal that they've made in the Taxila Ordnance Factory where they build their own tanks. How on earth are they going with a begging bowl to people that don't give them?